thing rolling. Okay. This is going to be a review of Rambo Last Blood, because didn't review it last week. And then I'm going to jump on to Joker. Rambo Last Blood is sort of a reboot of the reboot from 2008, the Rambo reboot, which I did not see the 2008 one. Apparently, that one was in Burma. And it apparently was a little talky and stuff. This one's a lot talky, a lot of narration and stuff. It seems to be a weird cross between, like, some of those gritty El Chapo movies, and Sicario and Sicario 2, of which the news people thought that was actually real. Sicario was not real. There weren't people held up in a van with a tape on them. That wasn't real. It was in a movie. And there might be somewhere, but that wasn't a movie. Last Blood is Sylvester Stallone's in his early 70s, and it's kind of impressive he can still do, like, tricks and stuff at that age, but and he's in shape. But other than that, the movie gets a little waxing philosophical, and kind of has some issues concerning its pacing and story. The premise is that he's been living in Arizona and has found the Rambo family ranch for 10 years, and he's raised a adopted daughter who really wants to go to Mexico to find her real father. The real father, he says the real father didn't want to see her, so that's foreshadowing. But her troublemaking friend offers to take her to Mexico, and then problems ensue. Yeah, spoiler review. Okay, so yeah. Basically, the daughter this is a character in the movie that isn't trained to be anything like Rambo. Now, if Kal Kat was doing a version of that, I would have done that. Had her be a little bit of a badass, because otherwise she just goes in there and things happen, and it's just like, oh, but that doesn't really say anything. So they don't do that. They don't do that. She's kidnapped by an evil cartel sex cult. It's human trafficker sex cult, so it's topical. And taken to Mexico, into the cartel, and captured and drugged. The Stallone's character, Rambo, goes in there to rescue her to Mexico. He is beaten up by the cartel leaders, and cut with a V shape on his face. They find out who he is, and Ertugo somehow find out who her is just having his license. I don't know how they got all the information, including an address later, from a license, but they did. But then they cut her, and then they put her in the brothel. Plot spoilers. He goes in to rescue the girl, and she is dying. She dies. He gets revenge, basically, at the end. Lures them somehow, I don't know how they found his house, to his fortified farm, and does the Clint Eastwood thing. Or / Rambo thing. The last 20 minutes of the movie are an amazing slasher flick of traps and destruction, and that part's cool. That part cool in the sense that it's like suddenly an action slasher movie. But for the slog that is the first 68 minutes or so, when they're not doing that, it's not really all that much fun. The idea of a vigilante getting right. The original premise of Rambo, or First Blood, the book, which was later adapted into a movie called Rambo, was that he was an anti-hero, almost a villain, who was killed off at the end. But the filmmakers thought they had a gold mine on their hands when they made the first movie, when they were putting it together, so they had it so he survives, so they can make another one, and then another one, and then another one. But by the time they got to part 3, it was just silly. Like, oh, he's fighting like random eco-terrorists or something. Oh, like G.I. Joe or something. Stallone really should have been a G.I. Joe. Really should have. I mean, there were some G.I. Joes kind of based on him a little bit, like Leatherneck and stuff. But yeah, he should have been a G.I. Joe. I mean, it would have been perfect. I mean, there was a Rambo cartoon, which is really bizarre and surreal. When I was a teenager, I was a kid, there was a cartoon of Rambo. It's rated R, bloody, like, vigilante movie. You could watch Rambo the cartoon, which they made it look like he was a sort of a nice guy, G.I. Joe, basically. What the? Well, they also had the Mr. T and the Hulk Hogan one and a bunch of other ones that were surreal. They even had, they had some weird ones, but we could talk about cartoons later. But, there's a Rambo card. There was a Toxic Avenger, also a rated R movie. That was a cartoon made out of that, which the Trauma people, of which James Gunn was one of them. Trauma people were like, why did they make a cartoon out of this? It was rated R. We ran over some kid in it. Movie. But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, back to Rambo First Blood. The executive decision. He apparently helped produce and write the script, or Stallone did, which explains why it's got all these weird speeches and things. Even though in the original 3 trilogy from the 80s, he didn't say much at all. He just would kill the bad guys. I'm calling for you. Who got you now? Poop. Now it's like, I'm going to quote poetry and literature to you. It's like, why are you doing that? Just because you're 70? I don't get it. Yeah. I know you wanted to do a movie like The Mule and make it a little more. Didn't see The Mule, but that was an Eastwood one. Same idea. Eastwood's a little older. He's like, in his 80s. He's older. So yeah. But yeah, Last Blood. Yeah, a lot of the critics are kind of saying what I'm saying. It's a little slow. It has a lot of words, and it's just the last part is the graphic and bloody, and that part, if you like bloody horror slasher traps, a la sort of a weird Saw version of Rambo, then it's fine. The Saw sequels, no, they're stupid. Anyway, but he does stuff like this. The main bad guy does get it. I won't give away everything. It begs some bizarre plot questions, though. The movie. How from his wallet did they acquire the information to get to the ranch? And then send an entire, literally, an armada of cars, black cars, over the border, and no one says anything or does anything. Is the message there supposed to be that anybody can come over the border? Because, yeah, I'm not sure how they would just do that. Did they just follow him somehow? Or I know he goes to the cartel to take off some of the cartel guys. There's a scene where he goes into the brothel and kills all the brothel guys, even the ones that are just like there to be sleazy and have sex or something. Kill them too. So he basically kills everybody. Yeah. So, or is it still gross? Is what they were doing? Still gross. Yeah. But yeah, he's a vigilante, which means a watchman. Interesting. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, he behaves in a way that just isn't. Yeah, it's a mess. Yeah, and then he has these traps and things in a building, and it's like, what's he doing there? And how did he build all this stuff? And nobody noticed. How come they aren't all trained? Yeah. Anyway, it's a Rambo movie, so it's not supposed to make sense. Anyway, that's my review of Last Blood, Rambo Last